Imagine this. You've just finished your first escape attempt in Hades 2 as Melinoë, wielding shadow magic and moonlight as you fight through the depths of Tartarus. The game feels familiar yet different, building on something magnificent that came before. But here's the thing that many new players don't realize. Every single mechanic you're experiencing, every relationship dynamic, every piece of lore that makes Hades 2 so compelling, it all stems from one of the most perfectly crafted narrative foundations in gaming history. If you enjoy topics like this, I'd really appreciate a quick like, or even a subscribe. It helps more than you know. I'm always curious where you all are listening from, so drop a comment with your location and what time it is there. Love seeing our little global community connect through similar interests. Now, dim the lights, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The original Hades didn't just tell a story. It created a living, breathing mythology that redefined what family drama could look like when your relatives happen to be the gods of the Underworld. If you've jumped straight into Hades 2, you're not alone. The sequel has captured the gaming world's attention with its expanded cast, refined mechanics, and the promise of new mysteries to uncover. But what you might not know is that you're only experiencing half the story. The original Hades contains narrative depths that directly inform everything happening in the sequel, from character motivations that span decades to family secrets that reshape how you'll understand every conversation in Hades 2. This isn't just about catching up on plot points. The lore of the original Hades matters because it established something unprecedented in gaming. A roguelike where death wasn't just a mechanical reset, but a narrative opportunity. Every failed escape attempt revealed new layers of character development, family history, and mythological depth. The game took ancient Greek mythology and made it feel immediate, personal, and surprisingly relatable. When Zagreus argues with his father Hades, it's not just divine drama. It's every family conflict about independence, identity, and the weight of expectations, amplified by immortal stakes. The genius of supergiant games lies in how they transformed familiar mythological figures into complex three-dimensional characters. Hades isn't just the lord of the underworld. He's a workaholic father struggling with communication, drowning in responsibilities he never asked for, trying to protect his family in the only way he knows how. Persephone isn't just the goddess who splits her time between seasons. She's a mother dealing with postpartum depression on a cosmic scale, whose absence creates ripples that affect every relationship in the underworld. These aren't just creative interpretations. They're the emotional foundation that makes Hades 2's story possible. Here's what makes this particularly relevant right now. Hades 2 assumed you understand these relationship dynamics. When characters reference past events, when they react to Melinoë in specific ways, when certain names carry emotional weight, the game is building on narrative groundwork laid in the original. Missing that context doesn't make Hades 2 unplayable, but it does mean you're missing layers of meaning that transform good writing into exceptional storytelling. The original Hades also established the rules of this universe in ways that matter for understanding the sequel. How divine powers work, why certain characters have specific relationships, what events shape the current political landscape of the underworld. These aren't just background details. They're active elements that influence everything from combat mechanics to dialogue trees in Hades 2. When you understand why Zagreus' escape attempts were so significant, you'll better appreciate why Melinoë's mission carries different stakes and requires different approaches. But perhaps most importantly, the original Hades perfected something that the sequel continues: the art of making mythology feel personal. These aren't distant, perfect beings acting out predetermined roles. They're individuals with genuine personalities, flaws, growth arcs, and relationships that evolve based on your actions. The original game spent 60 to 80 hours teaching players that gods are people too, just with supernatural job descriptions. That emotional foundation makes every moment in Hades 2 more impactful because you understand that these characters have histories, motivations, and the capacity for genuine change. Whether you're someone who played the original years ago and wants to refresh your memory before diving deeper into Hades 2, or you're completely new to the series and want to understand what all the excitement is about, this comprehensive breakdown will give you everything you need. We're going to explore not just what happened in the original Hades, but why it happened, how it established the emotional and mythological rules that govern this universe, and most importantly, how understanding these foundations will enhance every aspect of your experience with Hades 2. This isn't a simple plot summary. We're diving deep into character motivations, thematic elements, mythological innovations, and narrative techniques that made the original Hades a masterpiece of interactive storytelling. By the end, you'll understand not just the events that preceded Hades 2, but the emotional weight behind every reference, every character dynamic, and every story beat that builds on this incredible foundation. The Underworld is vast, complex, and full of secrets that span generations. Let's explore why the story that started with Zagreus' simple desire to escape his father's realm became one of gaming's most beloved narratives, and how that legacy lives on in every shadow Melinoë casts and every spell she weaves in her own epic journey. Chapter 1. The Prince of the Underworld, Zagreus and the Foundation of Rebellion. Zagreus, the rebellious prince, the original escape artist of the Underworld. His story isn't just a prelude to Melinoë's, it's the bedrock upon which the entire saga rests. It's the foundation for everything you experience in Hades 2. Forget what you think you know about heroic journeys. Zagreus throws the rulebook into the river Styx and lights it on fire. He's not driven by some grand destiny, some prophecy foretold ages ago. He's fueled by something far more relatable, frustration, a desire for connection, and a burning need to understand why his own mother, Persephone, abandoned him. Think about that for a moment. He's the son of Hades, the ruler of the Underworld. He lives in a realm of eternal punishment, surrounded by death and despair. You'd expect him to be brooding, powerful, maybe even a little evil. But Zagreus, he's different. He's got a spark of defiance, a mischievous glint in his eye, and a genuine concern for the well-being of those around him. That's what makes him so compelling. He's a breath of fresh air in a suffocating environment. He's relatable, even though he's a god. You understand his desire to escape, even if you can't imagine living in the underworld yourself. His motivations are beautifully simple, yet deeply personal. He yearns to reach the surface, to find his mother, and to understand the truth of his own origins. He's not trying to overthrow his father, not initially anyway. He's simply trying to find his place in the world, or perhaps outside of it. But consider the implications of his parentage. He's the son of Hades, the god of the dead. He's practically royalty in the underworld. He has access to resources, information, and perhaps most importantly, the unwavering loyalty of many of its inhabitants. This unique position is key to his rebellion. He's not some lowly shade trying to claw his way out of the depths. He's a prince, and he's using his privilege to challenge the status quo. He's turning the underworld's established order on its head. And who does he surround himself with? Not sycophants and yes-men, but a diverse cast of characters, each with their own stories and motivations. He fosters relationships with the likes of Megara, the Fury who initially acts as his gatekeeper, but grows to respect his tenacity. He befriends Thanatos, the embodiment of death, forming a bond that transcends their opposing roles. He even earns the affection of Dusa, the eternally flustered Gorgon head who manages the House of Hades. These relationships aren't just window dressing. They're integral to Zagreus' journey. They provide him with support, guidance, and even the occasional power-up. They showcase his ability to connect with others, even in the most unlikely of circumstances. They highlight his empathy, his compassion, and his willingness to see the good in everyone, even those who seem irredeemable. Think about Achilles, the legendary hero of the Trojan War, now a trainer and mentor within the House of Hades. He sees something special in Zagreus, a potential for greatness that even Zagreus himself may not fully recognize. He guides him, offering advice and encouragement, helping him hone his skills and overcome his weaknesses. And then there's Patroclus, Achilles' beloved companion, sequestered away in Elysium, haunted by the events of his past. Zagreus takes the time to listen to his story, to offer him comfort and understanding. He helps Patroclus find peace, even in the afterlife. These interactions shape Zagreus. They mold him into a hero, not through some divine mandate, but through his own actions and choices. He learns from his allies, he grows from his mistakes, and he evolves into someone truly extraordinary. His journey is one of self-discovery. He's not just escaping the underworld, he's escaping the expectations placed upon him by his father. He's forging his own path, defining his own identity, and becoming the person he was always meant to be. Consider how this contrasts with the typical heroic narrative. So often, heroes are presented as flawless, destined for greatness from birth. Zagreus is anything but. He's flawed, he's vulnerable, and he struggles with self-doubt. He dies. A lot. Each escape attempt ends in failure, forcing him to return to the House of Hades to face his father's disappointment and the taunts of his siblings. But he never gives up. He learns from each failure, he adapts his strategy, and he keeps pushing forward. This persistence, this unwavering determination is what truly defines him. It's what makes him so inspiring. It's what makes his story so resonant. He embodies the spirit of resilience, the idea that even in the face of overwhelming odds you can still achieve your goals if you're willing to keep trying. And this is the template, the foundational blueprint, that influences Melinoë's journey in Hades 2. She inherits Zagreus' rebellious spirit, his determination, and his deep-seated desire to uncover the truth. She faces similar challenges, she forges her own alliances, and she grapples with her own identity. But she's not simply a carbon copy of her brother. She has her own unique strengths, her own motivations, and her own story to tell. She builds upon the foundation that Zagreus laid, expanding the world of Hades and exploring new themes and ideas. Think about the weapons they wield. Zagreus uses infernal arms forged from the very essence of the Underworld. He's a master of close combat, a whirlwind of blades and fury. Melinoë, on the other hand, uses witchcraft. She commands the power of the moon, weaving spells and summoning spirits. She's a ranged fighter, strategic and precise. Their fighting styles reflect their personalities. Zagreus is impulsive and aggressive, while Melinoë is calculated and deliberate. They approach challenges in different ways, but they share the same underlying goal, to defy the established order and fight for what they believe in. And what about their relationships with the other characters? Zagreus finds camaraderie amongst the denizens of the Underworld and favour from the Olympian gods. Melinoë seeks the aid of forgotten deities and ancient powers, drawing strength from different sources. She's forging her own path, creating her own legacy, while still honouring the legacy of her brother. She is not simply replacing him, she is building upon what he created. She is expanding the world of Hades in ways that are both familiar and surprising. The key is that Zagreus' initial rebellion wasn't just about escaping the Underworld. It was about questioning authority, about forging your own identity, and about finding your place in a world that often feels unfair and oppressive. It's a story that resonates with anyone who's ever felt like an outsider, anyone who's ever struggled to find their own voice. And that's why his story matters. It's not just a prelude to Melinoë's journey, it's the foundation upon which the entire saga is built. It's the heart of Hades, the spark that ignites the rebellion. But to truly understand Zagreus, you must understand the fractured family he was born into, the complex and often dysfunctional relationships that shaped his world. What were the unspoken tensions simmering beneath the surface of the House of Hades? What secrets were hidden behind closed doors? And how did these familial dynamics influence Zagreus' decision to defy his father and seek his own destiny? Because this discovery was only the beginning. And next, we uncover the fractured royal family and the divine dysfunction that fueled it all. Chapter 2. The Fractured Royal Family, Hades, Persephone, and Divine Dysfunction. The Fractured Royal Family. It's the kind of phrase you might expect to hear about, well, actual royalty. But in the world of Hades, it's a tragically accurate description of the relationship between Hades, Persephone, and their son Zagreus. This isn't just a family squabble, it's the engine driving the entire narrative. Hades, lord of the Underworld, isn't just a stern boss managing the bureaucracy of death. He's a father, albeit a deeply flawed one. His relationship with Zagreus is strained, marked by unspoken expectations and a distinct lack of affection. Why? Because Hades is a creature of order, of duty. He sees the Underworld as his responsibility, a machine that must run smoothly, and Zagreus' rebellious nature clashes directly with that. Think about it. Hades is essentially the CEO of a massive, eternal corporation. He's got deadlines, budgets, and the constant pressure of maintaining the delicate balance of the afterlife. Showing affection, dealing with emotional outbursts, these are luxuries he feels he can't afford. He's buried himself in his work, and in doing so, he's buried his ability to connect with his son. But there's more to it than just a workaholic father. Hades is also dealing with the absence of his wife, Persephone. Her disappearance from the underworld hangs over everything like a shroud, a constant reminder of a past hurt and a current void. This absence isn't just a personal tragedy, it destabilizes the entire underworld. Persephone, Queen of the Underworld, is arguably the most enigmatic figure in this family drama. Her reasons for leaving are initially shrouded in mystery. All we know is that she abandoned her duties, her husband and her son, choosing to live on the surface world. Why? What drove her to make such a drastic decision? The truth, when Zagreus finally uncovers it, is heartbreaking. Persephone's departure wasn't an act of malice or abandonment, it was an act of self-preservation. She couldn't bear to remain in the underworld, a place that held too many painful memories, a place that was slowly suffocating her. She needed to escape, to breathe, to find herself again. Imagine being trapped in a gilded cage, surrounded by duty and expectation, with no room to grow or express yourself. That's the situation Persephone found herself in. Her decision to leave, while painful for Hades and Zagreus, was ultimately an act of courage, a desperate attempt to reclaim her own life. The marital conflict between Hades and Persephone is more than just a lover's quarrel. It's a clash of ideologies, a fundamental disagreement about how life, or rather the afterlife, should be lived. Hades believes in order, in structure, in fulfilling one's duty. Persephone craves freedom, self-expression, and the chance to experience the world beyond the underworld's oppressive atmosphere. Their relationship is a microcosm of the larger conflict that permeates the entire game. It's the tension between tradition and rebellion, between duty and desire, between the old ways and the yearning for something new. This tension fuels Zagreus' desire to escape, and it shapes the choices he makes along the way, and you, as the player, are caught in the middle of it. You're witnessing the fallout of this fractured family, experiencing the consequences of their choices. You're seeing how their dysfunction impacts the entire underworld, from the lowliest shade to the most powerful deity. The emotional stakes are incredibly high. This isn't just about escaping the underworld, it's about mending a broken family, about understanding the motivations behind their actions, about finding a way to bridge the gap between them. It's about forgiveness, acceptance, and the possibility of healing. The family themes resonate so strongly because they're universal. We've all experienced family drama, whether it's disagreements with our parents, siblings, or partners. We all understand the complexities of love, loss, and the struggle to find our place within a family unit. And it's these very themes that carry forward into Hades 2. The sequel delves even deeper into the complexities of family relationships, exploring the bonds between sisters, the weight of legacy, and the challenges of forging your own path in the shadow of your ancestors. Think about Melinoë, the princess of the underworld in Hades 2. She's facing her own set of challenges, her own family drama. She's trying to understand her place in the world, to fulfill her destiny, while also grappling with the legacy of her parents and the expectations placed upon her. The foundation laid by Hades 1, with its exploration of Hades, Persephone, and Zagreus' dysfunctional family dynamic, provides the emotional bedrock for Hades 2. It sets the stage for a deeper exploration of these themes, allowing the sequel to resonate even more powerfully with players. But the family dynamic isn't the only crucial element carried forward from Hades 1. The relationships with the Olympic gods, the boons they bestow, and the political tensions between Olympus and the underworld all play a significant role in shaping the narrative of both games. Imagine the sheer power these gods wield, their influence over the mortal realm and the underworld. Zeus with his lightning bolts and booming voice, Poseidon with his control over the seas, Athena with her wisdom and strategic brilliance. They're not just abstract figures from mythology, they're active participants in the story with their own agendas and motivations. Their boons, the gifts they bestow upon Zagreus and later Melinoë, are more than just gameplay mechanics. They're reflections of their individual personalities and domains. Zeus's boons often involve lightning damage, reflecting his mastery over the skies. Poseidon's boons manipulate water and the flow of combat, mirroring his control over the oceans. Athena's boons provide defensive buffs and strategic advantages, showcasing her wisdom and tactical prowess. These boons aren't just random power-ups, they're narrative extensions of the gods themselves. They tell us something about their personalities, their motivations, and their relationships with the underworld. And understanding these divine relationships is crucial for appreciating the expanded caste and power dynamics in Hades 2. The political tensions between Olympus and the underworld are also a key element. The gods of Olympus often view the underworld with disdain, seeing it as a dark and unpleasant place. Hades, in turn, resents their interference and their perceived arrogance. This tension creates a constant undercurrent of conflict, shaping the events of both games. Think about the implications. The gods of Olympus, with their immense power and influence, could easily intervene in the affairs of the underworld, but they choose not to, or at least they do so sparingly. Why? What are the rules that govern their interactions? What are the consequences of breaking those rules? These questions become even more relevant in Hades 2, as Melinoë faces new challenges and new threats. The power dynamics between the gods of Olympus and the underworld are constantly shifting, and understanding these shifts is crucial for navigating the complex political landscape of the game. But the gods aren't the only important characters in the underworld. The denizens of the underworld, the shades, the monsters, and the various figures who inhabit this realm all play a vital role in shaping the narrative and creating the unique culture of Hades. Characters like Megara, Thanatos, Hypnos, Dousa, Achilles, and Patroclus aren't just background characters, they're integral to the story. Their stories interweave with Zagreus' journey, providing emotional depth and thematic resonance. They represent different aspects of the underworld, different perspectives on life, death, and everything in between. Megara, one of the Fury sisters, is initially an antagonist, tasked with preventing Zagreus from escaping. But as you progress through the game, you begin to see a different side of her. You learn about her loyalty, her sense of duty, and her hidden vulnerabilities. Thanatos, the embodiment of death, is a complex and intriguing character. He's both a friend and a rival to Zagreus, challenging him to become stronger and more skilled. Their relationship is built on mutual respect and a shared understanding of the nature of death. Hypnos, the god of sleep, is the ever-present gatekeeper of the House of Hades. He's perpetually drowsy and seemingly oblivious to the chaos around him, but he also provides valuable information and insights into the workings of the underworld. Dousa, the Gorgon head maid, is a sweet and endearing character who struggles with her self-confidence. Her unwavering loyalty and her genuine desire to help Zagreus make her a fan favorite. Achilles and Patroclus, the legendary heroes of the Trojan War, are trapped in the underworld, their relationship strained by regret and unfulfilled promises. Their story is a poignant reminder of the enduring power of love and the devastating consequences of war. These characters, and many others, contribute to the unique culture of the underworld. It's a culture of redemption, of second chances, of finding meaning in the face of death. It's a place where even the most flawed individuals can find solace, acceptance, and the opportunity to atone for their past mistakes. Supergiant Games has created a truly remarkable world, a world that is both familiar and alien, both terrifying and beautiful. And it's this world, with its rich mythology, its compelling characters, and its emotionally resonant themes, that sets the stage for Hades 2. But how exactly did Supergiant Games manage to take these ancient myths and breathe new life into them? What creative liberties did they take, and how did those liberties enhance rather than diminish the original stories? That's what we'll explore next, as we delve into the mythological innovation that makes Hades so special. Chapter 3. The Pantheon of Allies, Olympic Gods, and Their Divine Politics. In Zagreus' desperate bids for freedom, he wasn't alone. He had allies, celestial benefactors who saw something in his rebellion, a spark of defiance against the rigid order of the underworld. These weren't just random acts of kindness from on high. They were calculated moves in a divine chess game, a celestial drama playing out above the mortal realm. We're talking, of course, about the Olympian gods. Think of them as the ultimate influencers, each with their own brand, their own agenda, and a vested interest in the affairs of mortals and, apparently, rebellious underworld princes. They gifted Zagreus with boons, blessings that amplified his abilities, tweaked his attacks, and offered him a fighting chance against his father's seemingly insurmountable defenses. But these gifts weren't simply handed out of the goodness of their hearts. Each boon, each blessing, was a reflection of the god's personality, their domain, and their own tangled web of relationships with each other and the underworld. To truly understand Zagreus' journey and to appreciate the wider implications for Melinoë's quest we need to delve into the divine politics that fueled these interventions. Let's start with Zeus, the king of the gods, the master of lightning, and the ultimate authority figure on Mount Olympus. His boons often focused on raw power, electric shocks that amplified Zagreus' attacks and defenses. But why would Zeus, ruler of the cosmos, care about a single soul trying to escape the underworld? Well, the answer lies in the complex relationship between Olympus and the underworld. While Hades ruled his domain with an iron fist, he was still technically Zeus's brother. But familial ties don't always translate into harmony, especially when you're dealing with gods. There was always a simmering tension, a power imbalance that occasionally erupted into open conflict. Zeus, ever the strategist, might have seen Zagreus as a potential pawn in this game, a way to subtly undermine Hades' authority without directly challenging him. Or perhaps he was simply amused by Zagreus' audacity, a refreshing break from the usual divine squabbles. Whatever the reason, Zeus's support was a crucial advantage for Zagreus, a sign that even the king of the gods recognized his potential. Then there's Poseidon, the god of the sea, whose boons granted Zagreus the power to summon tidal waves, to knock back enemies with surging currents. Poseidon's connection to Zagreus might seem less obvious, but remember, the sea surrounds the underworld, it's a liminal space, a boundary between the living and the dead. Poseidon, ever the protector of boundaries, might have seen Zagreus' escape attempts as a necessary disruption, a way to ensure the underworld didn't become too stagnant, too isolated from the rest of the world. Plus, let's not forget Poseidon's own rebellious streak. He wasn't always the most obedient of Zeus's siblings, and he might have admired Zagreus' defiance, seeing a kindred spirit in the underworld prince. And what about Athena, the goddess of wisdom and warfare? Her boons focused on defense, granting Zagreus the ability to deflect attacks, to anticipate his enemies' moves. Athena wasn't one for frivolous gestures. Her support was always strategic, calculated, and aimed at achieving a specific goal. She likely saw Zagreus as a worthy protégé, a student who could learn from her wisdom and apply it to his own unique circumstances. Perhaps she believed that Zagreus' escape attempts, while seemingly futile, were a valuable exercise in problem-solving, a way to test his limits and hone his skills. Or, on a more pragmatic level, she understood that a strong, independent Zagreus could serve as a valuable ally in the inevitable conflicts to come. But the Olympian support wasn't limited to the big three. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, offered boons that enhanced Zagreus' speed and accuracy, turning him into a lethal hunter himself. Her connection to Zagreus was more subtle, a shared appreciation for the wild, untamed spirit that defied the rigid rules of both Olympus and the underworld. Artemis, a champion of independence and self-reliance, likely saw Zagreus' quest as a reflection of her own values, a testament to the power of individual will. She wasn't interested in controlling him or manipulating him. She simply wanted to empower him, to give him the tools he needed to forge his own path. And then there's Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, whose boons inflicted the weak status, making enemies more vulnerable to Zagreus' attacks. Her involvement might seem superficial at first glance, but Aphrodite understood the power of attraction, the ability to disarm and manipulate through charm and allure. Perhaps she saw Zagreus as a diamond in the rough, a prince who needed a little polishing to truly shine. Or maybe she simply enjoyed the chaos and drama that his escape attempts created, a welcome distraction from the usual romantic entanglements of the gods and mortals. Whatever her reasons, Aphrodite's support added a touch of intrigue and complexity to Zagreus' journey. Even Ares, the god of war, known for his bloodlust and brutality, offered Zagreus boons that amplified his damage and unleashed devastating attacks. Ares might seem like an unlikely ally for a prince trying to escape the underworld, but remember, war isn't always about mindless violence. It's also about strategy, resilience, and the will to survive. Ares likely saw Zagreus' escape attempts as a constant battle, a relentless struggle against overwhelming odds. He admired Zagreus' tenacity, his refusal to give up even in the face of certain defeat. And perhaps, on a deeper level, he recognized a kindred spirit in Zagreus, someone who understood the primal urge to fight, to push beyond one's limits. And let's not forget Dionysus, the god of wine, revelry, and madness. His boons inflicted hangover, weakening and slowing down enemies with intoxicating fumes. Dionysus, the ultimate party animal, might seem like the least likely candidate to offer meaningful assistance, but don't underestimate the power of intoxication. Dionysus understood that sometimes the best way to overcome adversity is to loosen up, to embrace chaos, and to find joy in the midst of struggle. He saw Zagreus' quest as a grand adventure, a chance to break free from the rigid constraints of the underworld and to experience the intoxicating freedom of the unknown. These are just a few examples of the Olympian gods who aided Zagreus in his quest. Each god had their own reasons for supporting him, their own agendas, and their own unique way of influencing his journey. But what's crucial to understand is that their support wasn't just about helping Zagreus escape. It was about divine politics, about power struggles, and about the ever-shifting balance of power between Olympus and the underworld. The boons they offered weren't just random gifts, they were reflections of their own personalities, their own domains, and their own relationships with each other and the underworld. By understanding these divine relationships, we can gain a deeper appreciation for the complexities of Zagreus' journey and the wider implications for Melinoë's quest in. Consider Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, whose boons inflicted chill, slowing enemies with frigid blasts. Her connection to Persephone, Zagreus' mother, is undeniable. Demeter's grief over her daughter's absence cast a pall over the world, causing the seasons to cease. Supporting Zagreus could be seen as a way to indirectly influence Hades, perhaps even creating a path for Persephone's return, or at least ensuring her well-being within the underworld. Then there's Hermes, the fleet-footed messenger god, whose boons granted Zagreus increased speed and evasion. Hermes, always on the move, represents communication and trade between realms. His support might stem from a desire to maintain balance and prevent the underworld from becoming too isolated. Plus, let's be honest, Hermes probably enjoyed watching Zagreus zip around, creating chaos and defying expectations. These divine interventions weren't always harmonious. The gods, notorious for their squabbles and rivalries, often had conflicting agendas. One god's boon might inadvertently weaken the effects of another, creating a complex web of strategic choices for Zagreus. He had to carefully consider which boons to accept, knowing that each decision could have unforeseen consequences. The political tensions between Olympus and the underworld were palpable, a constant undercurrent that shaped Zagreus' journey. The gods on Olympus, with their bright palaces and boundless freedom, often looked down upon the underworld, seeing it as a dark and dreary place ruled by a stern and unyielding god. Hades, in turn, resented Olympus, viewing it as a realm of frivolous pursuits and shallow ambitions. He preferred the order and discipline of the underworld, where every soul had its place and every action had its consequence. Zagreus, caught between these two worlds, became a symbol of this conflict, a pawn in a divine game he didn't fully understand. But Zagreus wasn't just a pawn, he was a prince, a son of Hades, with his own agency and his own motivations. He used the gods' boons to his advantage, combining them in creative ways, adapting his strategies to overcome the challenges he faced. He learned to navigate the treacherous terrain of divine politics, forging alliances and exploiting rivalries to further his own goals. And as he progressed, he began to understand the gods not just as abstract figures of power, but as individuals with their own flaws, their own desires, and their own vulnerabilities. He saw their generosity, their pettiness, their wisdom, and their folly. He learned that even gods could be flawed, that even divine power had its limits. This understanding would prove invaluable not just for Zagreus' own journey, but for Melinoë's quest in. The gods, with all their complexities and contradictions, remain a central force in the underworld, and understanding their motivations is key to unraveling the mysteries that lie ahead. So, as Melinoë embarks on her own quest, she inherits not only Zagreus' legacy, but also his complex relationship with the Olympian gods. She must navigate the same treacherous terrain of divine politics, forging her own alliances and exploiting the rivalries that continue to shape the fate of the underworld. She will need to understand that boons are not just gifts, but calculated moves in a celestial game. The stage is set for a new era of divine intervention, and Melinoë must be ready to play her part. But what if the very foundations of the underworld's established order, meticulously maintained by Hades and challenged by Zagreus, are now shifting in ways neither could have foreseen? What secrets lie hidden within the underworld's ecosystem, beyond the Olympians' influence? Before we dive deeper into this incredible journey, I'm curious, where in the world are you watching this from? Drop a comment below and let our global community know. And if you're finding this as mind-blowing as I am, hit that like button to help more people discover this story. Chapter 4. The Underworld's Ecosystem, Characters, Culture, and Cosmic Order. The House of Hades isn't just a location, it's a character in itself, teeming with souls, secrets, and a surprisingly vibrant, if morbid, culture. You might be focused on Zagreus and his escape, but take a moment to consider the lives, or rather afterlives, of those who call the Underworld home. They're not just background dressing, they're integral to the story, offering support, challenges, and a glimpse into the complex morality of Supergiant's world. Think about Megaera, one of the Fury sisters. Initially, she's an obstacle, a boss you must overcome time and again. But as you delve deeper, you learn about her loyalty to Hades, her sense of duty, and even a hint of begrudging respect for Zagreus' persistence. It's a far cry from the one-dimensional villain she could have been. Then there's Thanatos, the embodiment of death itself. He's cool, collected, and surprisingly friendly. He's not some grim reaper figure reveling in suffering. Instead, he approaches his work with a quiet professionalism, almost a melancholy acceptance. He even offers Zagreus tips on how to improve his combat skills. Who would have thought that the literal avatar of death would be a supportive colleague? And who could forget Hypnos, the ever-sleepy god of sleep, perpetually dozing at his desk, offering vague warnings and even vaguer assistance. He seems like a comic relief character, but his presence subtly underscores the cyclical nature of the underworld. Souls arrive, are processed, and eventually, well, who really knows what happens after that? Hypnos is a constant reminder of the mysteries that lie beyond even Hades' domain. Dusa, the floating Gorgon head who works as a cleaner in the house, is another standout. She's shy, awkward, and endlessly apologetic, but her dedication to her job and her quiet kindness make her incredibly endearing. She represents the everyday, the mundane, even in a realm of gods and monsters. You see her struggling with her chores, worrying about the house's cleanliness, and you can't help but root for her. Achilles and Patroclus offer perhaps the most poignant storyline in the game. Their love story, tragically cut short in life, continues to unfold in the underworld. Achilles, bound by his duty to Hades, is unable to join Patroclus in Elysium. Their longing for each other, their quiet moments of connection amidst the chaos, are a powerful reminder of the enduring strength of love, even in the face of death. It highlights the game's willingness to explore complex relationships and emotional depth. These characters, and many others, aren't just window dressing. They are the threads that weave together the rich tapestry of the underworld's culture. They have their own motivations, their own desires, and their own relationships with each other. They gossip, they bicker, they offer advice, and they provide a sense of community, even in the most desolate of places. Supergiant Games didn't just create a visually stunning and mechanically engaging game. They created a living, breathing world with its own unique culture and social dynamics. The underworld feels real because of its inhabitants, because of their struggles, their triumphs, and their connections to each other. The theme of redemption is woven throughout many of these characters' stories. They're not simply defined by their past mistakes or their tragic fates. They have the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to find some measure of peace even in the afterlife. Achilles seeks to atone for his pride, Megaera strives to uphold her duty, and even Hades himself, in his own way, is trying to maintain order and balance. The game encourages you to engage with these characters, to learn their stories, and to help them find closure. By doing so, you not only unlock new abilities and upgrades, but you also gain a deeper understanding of the underworld and its inhabitants. You become a part of their community, a confidant, a friend. This focus on character relationships and personal stories is what sets Hades apart from other roguelikes. It's not just about escaping the underworld, it's about the connections you forge along the way, the friendships you build, and the impact you have on the lives of those around you. It's about the importance of empathy, understanding, and the power of human connection, even in the face of death. The underworld, as presented in Hades, isn't just a place of punishment and despair. It's a place of transition, of reflection, and of second chances. It's a place where even the most flawed individuals can find redemption, and where even the most tragic love stories can endure. Supergiant Games has masterfully crafted a world that is both familiar and surprising, both dark and humorous, both tragic and hopeful. The characters are complex, the relationships are nuanced, and the themes are profound. It's a testament to the power of storytelling and the ability of games to create meaningful connections between players and the characters they encounter. But how does this intricately woven social fabric, this unique underworld culture, influence the events of Hades 2? How does the absence of Zagreus impact these established relationships, and what new connections will Melinoë forge as she navigates the depths? These are questions that the sequel promises to answer, building upon the strong foundation laid by its predecessor. Consider the cosmic order that governs the underworld. Hades, as its administrator, maintains a delicate balance, ensuring the smooth flow of souls and the proper functioning of the bureaucratic machine. But what happens when that order is disrupted? What happens when the forces of chaos threaten to overwhelm the underworld and spill into the mortal realm? This is the central conflict of Hades 2. The Titan Chronos, the embodiment of time itself, has escaped his imprisonment and is wreaking havoc on the underworld. This disruption not only threatens the lives of its inhabitants, but also destabilizes the entire cosmic order. Melinoë, as the princess of the underworld, is tasked with restoring balance and defeating Chronos. But she can't do it alone. She'll need to rely on the help of both familiar faces and new allies, navigating the complex political landscape of the underworld and forging new alliances to combat the Titan threat. The relationships established in Hades 1 will undoubtedly play a crucial role in Hades 2. Will Megara and Thanatos offer their support to Melinoë, or will their loyalties be divided? Will Hypnos finally wake up and offer some useful advice, or will he remain perpetually lost in his dreams? Will Achilles and Patroclus find a way to reunite, or will their love story remain forever incomplete? These are just some of the questions that fans are eagerly anticipating. Hades 2 promises to delve even deeper into the lore of the underworld, exploring its hidden corners and revealing its untold secrets. It's a chance to revisit familiar characters and discover new ones, to forge new relationships and confront new challenges. The underworld is more than just a backdrop for the action. It's a living, breathing world with its own history, its own culture, and its own set of rules. Understanding this world is essential for appreciating the full scope of the Hades saga. It's essential for understanding the motivations of its characters, the complexities of its relationships, and the stakes of the conflict that lies ahead. The unique culture. Supergiant Games, created within the underworld, is a major draw for players. It's a place where death isn't necessarily the end, where redemption is possible, and where even the most unlikely of characters can find love and friendship. It's a world that is both fantastical and relatable, both dark and humorous, both tragic and hopeful. As Melinoë ventures forth, she will undoubtedly encounter new challenges and new allies. She will need to navigate the complex political landscape of the underworld, forging alliances and confronting enemies. She will need to learn the secrets of her own powers and master the art of shadow magic, but most importantly, she will need to understand the culture of the underworld, the values and beliefs of its inhabitants, and the forces that are shaping its destiny. Only then can she hope to restore balance and defeat Chronos, saving the underworld from destruction. The social foundation established in Hades 1, with its intricate web of relationships and its unique cultural norms, provides the perfect launching pad for Hades 2. It's a world that is ripe for exploration, a world that is full of surprises, and a world that is sure to captivate players for years to come. The themes of redemption and second chances that were so prevalent in Hades 1 will undoubtedly continue to resonate in Hades 2. Many of the characters Melinoë encounters will be grappling with their own past mistakes and seeking to find some measure of peace. Melinoë herself will be on a journey of self-discovery, learning about her own identity and her place in the world. She will need to confront her own demons and overcome her own fears in order to fulfill her destiny. The underworld is a place of constant change, a place where the past is always present and the future is always uncertain. It's a place where anything is possible, and where even the most unlikely of heroes can rise to the occasion. The expanded cast of characters in Hades 2 will undoubtedly bring new perspectives and new dynamics to the underworld. We can expect to see new rivalries, new alliances, and new romances. we can expect to learn more about the history of the Underworld and the forces that have shaped its destiny. Supergiant Games has created a world that is both rich and complex, a world that is full of secrets and surprises. It's a world that is worth exploring, a world that is worth investing in, and a world that is sure to leave a lasting impression on players. The cosmic order that governs the Underworld is constantly being challenged, constantly being disrupted. It's a testament to the resilience of the Underworld and the determination of its inhabitants that it has managed to survive for so long. Melinoë's quest to restore balance and defeat Chronos is not just a personal journey, it's a struggle for the very soul of the Underworld. It's a fight for the future of all those who call it home. But how exactly did Supergiant Games take these age-old myths and breathe such fresh life into them? What creative liberties did they take, and how did those choices impact the overall narrative? We'll delve into that next, exploring the ingenious ways that Hades reimagined ancient stories and set the stage for even more mythological innovation in the sequel. Chapter 5: Mythological Innovation: How Hades Reimagined Ancient Stories. Hades isn't just a retelling of Greek myths, it's a remix. A vibrant, stylized, emotionally resonant reimagining that takes familiar figures and stories and spins them into something uniquely its own. But how exactly did Supergiant Games achieve this? What were the key ingredients in their mythological alchemy? And why does it all work so brilliantly? The answer, surprisingly, isn't about slavishly adhering to every single detail of the original myths. Instead, it's about understanding the of those myths, the underlying themes and archetypes, and then fearlessly innovating on the surface level. Think of it like jazz music. You start with a familiar melody, a standard, and then you improvise, you riff, you add your own personal flair while still honoring the essence of the original tune. Let's take Hades himself as an example. In traditional Greek mythology, Hades is often portrayed as a stern, somewhat aloof figure, not necessarily evil, but certainly not warm and fuzzy. He's the ruler of the Underworld, a job he takes seriously, and that's about it. But he's given a whole new layer of complexity. He's still stern, yes, and still dedicated to his duties, but he's also a father, a husband, a bureaucrat struggling to keep the Underworld running smoothly, and, perhaps most surprisingly, a loving, if somewhat emotionally stunted parent. This isn't just a superficial change. By humanizing Hades, by giving him relatable motivations and flaws, Supergiant Games makes him a far more compelling and sympathetic character. We understand his actions, even when we disagree with them. The weight of responsibility on his shoulders, the loneliness of his position, and the genuine love he has for his son Zagreus, even if he struggles to express it. And this approach isn't limited to Hades himself. Every character in the game, from the Olympian gods to the shades of the Underworld, is given a similar treatment. They're all instantly recognizable as the figures from mythology, but they're also fresh, surprising, and deeply human. Consider Achilles, the legendary hero of the Trojan War. He's a fearsome warrior, driven by rage and a thirst for glory, but he's also a mentor, a friend, and a lover. His relationship with Patroclus is given a beautiful and heartbreaking depth that's only hinted at in the original stories. He's still a warrior, of course, but he's also a man capable of great tenderness and compassion. Or take Megara, one of the Fury sisters who guard the gates of the Underworld. In mythology, she's a terrifying figure, a symbol of vengeance and divine wrath. And while she's certainly intimidating she's also a complex character with her own code of honor, and a surprising amount of affection for Zagreus, even if she expresses it in a rather forceful way. So, how does Supergiant Games pull this off? What are the specific techniques they use to reimagine these ancient stories? One key element is their willingness to play with tone. The game is full of humor, wit, and light-hearted moments, even amidst the darkness and despair of the Underworld. This helps to make the characters more relatable and the story more engaging. It also allows them to explore deeper themes without becoming overly heavy or didactic. For example, the banter between Zagreus and the Olympian gods is often hilarious, but it also reveals a lot about their personalities and their relationships with each other. The gods are portrayed as powerful and often capricious beings, but they're also flawed, insecure, and prone to petty squabbles. This makes them feel more human, even as they wield unimaginable power. Another important technique is their use of anachronisms. The characters often speak in a modern vernacular, using slang and idioms that would be completely out of place in ancient Greece. This might seem jarring at first, but it actually works surprisingly well. It helps to break down the barriers between the ancient world and the modern one, making the characters feel more accessible and relatable. Think about Dusa, the Gorgon-head attendant in the House of Hades. Her anxiety, her clumsy attempts at hospitality, her passion for cleaning. These are all very modern anxieties, but they're expressed through the lens of a mythical creature. It's a brilliant juxtaposition that makes her one of the most endearing characters in the game. But perhaps the most important element of Supergiant Games' mythological innovation is their willingness to explore the gaps in the original stories. Greek mythology is full of unanswered questions, ambiguous motives, and loose ends. It doesn't try to fill in every single blank, but it does offer its own interpretations, its own explanations for why things happened the way they did. Persephone's absence from the Underworld is a perfect example of this. In Mythology, she is abducted by Hades and forced to spend half the year with him, causing winter to fall upon the earth, but offers a different perspective. It suggests that Persephone left the Underworld willingly, for reasons of her own. This adds a whole new layer of complexity to her character and to her relationship with Hades and Zagreus, and it's not just about filling in the gaps. Supergiant Games also uses the game to explore themes that are only implicit in the original myths. Themes like family, identity, and the struggle for self-determination. These are universal themes that resonate with players regardless of their familiarity with Greek mythology. Zagreus's quest to escape the Underworld is, on one level, a literal journey to the surface. But it's also a metaphor for his own personal journey of self-discovery. He's trying to find his place in the world, to define himself on his own terms, and to escape the shadow of his father. This is a story that anyone can relate to, regardless of whether they're the son of the god of the Underworld. Similarly, the game explores the theme of family and all its messy, complicated glory. Hades and Zagreus have a strained relationship, to say the least, but there's also a deep bond of love and loyalty between them. Persephone's absence creates a void in their lives, a void that they both struggle to fill. And the Olympian gods, for all their power and grandeur, are just as dysfunctional as any human family. The brilliance of lies in its ability to take these ancient stories and make them feel fresh, relevant, and deeply personal. It's not just a game about Greek mythology, it's a game about the human condition, told through the lens of mythology. It's a game that understands that the best way to honor the past is to reimagine it, to breathe new life into it, and to make it speak to the present. And this innovative approach to storytelling isn't just limited to the characters and themes. It extends to the very structure of the game itself. The roguelike gameplay, with its endless cycle of death and rebirth, perfectly mirrors the cyclical nature of Greek mythology. The boons that Zagreus receives from the Olympian gods reflect their individual domains and personalities. And the ever-changing layout of the Underworld reinforces the idea that nothing is ever truly fixed or permanent. The game also cleverly uses the concept of prophecy to create a sense of mystery and intrigue. Throughout his journey, Zagreus encounters various characters who offer cryptic hints about the future. These prophecies add a layer of depth to the story and encourage players to keep exploring and experimenting. For instance, the prophecies offered by the Fates often hint at hidden storylines or unlockable content. This encourages players to try different weapons, experiment with different boons, and explore every nook and cranny of the Underworld. It's a brilliant way to reward curiosity and keep players engaged. And the game's art style, with its vibrant colors, stylized character designs, and stunning environments, is another key element of its mythological innovation. The Underworld is depicted as a dark and dangerous place, but it's also beautiful and strangely alluring. The character designs are instantly recognizable as the figures from Mythology, but they're also fresh, modern, and full of personality. The way that Supergiant Games blends these elements together is what makes such a unique and unforgettable experience. It's a game that respects the source material, but it's not afraid to take risks and experiment. It's a game that understands that the best way to tell a story is to make it your own. This is why it resonated so deeply with players. It wasn't just a fun and challenging game, it was a meaningful and emotionally resonant experience. It was a game that made us think about the nature of family, identity, and the struggle for self-determination. It was a game that reminded us of the power of stories to connect us to each other and to the past. And this is also why it's so important for understanding. Because the sequel isn't just a continuation of the story, it's a continuation of this innovative approach to storytelling. It's a chance for Supergiant Games to explore new characters, new themes, and new mythological elements while still staying true to the spirit of the original game. It's a chance to build upon the foundation that they've already laid, to create something even more ambitious and even more unforgettable. But how does this innovative approach to mythology translate to the new characters and storylines of? What new twists and turns can we expect to see in the sequel? And how does understanding the original enrich our experience of the new game? These are the questions we'll be exploring in the next chapter as we delve into the legacy and continuation of Supergiant Games' mythological masterpiece. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to hear will change how you see both games forever. I hope you're as amazed by this as I am. If you want to stay updated on more content like this, make sure to subscribe and join our community of curious minds. Trust me, what's coming next will challenge everything you thought you knew. Chapter 6: Legacy and Continuation. Why Hades 1's story matters for Hades 2. Think of Zagreus' journey as the seed from which the entire garden of Hades 2 springs. His defiance, his relentless pursuit of the surface, wasn't just a personal quest. It was a rebellion against fate itself, a rewriting of the rules of the Underworld, and that rebellious spirit permeates everything Melinoë does. You might be asking, how can a story about one character be so integral to another's entirely different adventure? It's not just about shared locations or familiar faces. It's about the emotional bedrock that the first game established. Remember the sting of Hades' disapproval, the warmth of Nyx's guidance, the playful rivalry with Thanatos. These relationships, these carefully crafted dynamics, form the emotional palette from which Hades 2 draws its colors. They provide a context, a history, that enriches every interaction Melinoë has. Consider the House of Hades itself. It's not just a hub area, it's a living, breathing entity shaped by the events of the first game. The changes Zagreus wrought, the alliances he forged, the very atmosphere of the place all linger. When Melinoë walks those halls, she's walking through a space that remembers Zagreus, a space that has been fundamentally altered by his actions. And what about the gods of Olympus? Their boons, their personalities, their often comedic disdain for the underworld. These were all established in Zagreus' journey. Now, in Hades 2, Melinoë interacts with them in a world already informed by that history. Their motivations, their biases, even their dialogue are coloured by their past dealings with the son of Hades. It adds layers of nuance that wouldn't be possible without the original game. Think about the narrative threads left dangling at the end of Hades. Persephone's return, the reconciliation, however tentative, between father and son. These weren't just tidy conclusions, they were seeds planted for future stories. Hades 2 doesn't ignore these threads. It picks them up, examines them, and weaves them into a new tapestry. Persephone's role, for example, is deepened and expanded, her relationship with both Zagreus and Melinoë becoming a central focus. The impact of her absence, the reasons for her return, the complexities of her divine nature, these are all explored with a depth that directly benefits from the groundwork laid in the first game. But it's not just about plot points. It's about themes. The themes of family, duty, rebellion, and self-discovery that resonated so strongly in Hades are amplified and reinterpreted in Hades 2. Zagreus' struggle to define himself in the face of his father's expectations is mirrored in Melinoë's own quest to prove herself, to fulfill her destiny. But where Zagreus sought freedom from the underworld, Melinoë seeks to protect it. This inversion of the original's core motivation creates a fascinating contrast, highlighting the different ways in which family legacies can shape individual choices. You see, Hades 2 isn't just a sequel, it's a conversation between two games, between two siblings, between two different perspectives on the same ancient mythology. It's a conversation that wouldn't be possible without the foundation laid by Zagreus' original journey. Imagine trying to understand a complex painting without knowing anything about the artist, their history, their influences. You might appreciate the colours, the composition, but you'd be missing a deeper layer of meaning. The same is true of Hades. 2. To truly appreciate its innovations, its complexities, its emotional depth, you need to understand the story that came before. Think of Zagreus as the prototype, the first draft of the heroic archetype. He's the rebellious son, the charming rogue, the determined escape artist. He sets the stage for Melinoë, who takes that archetype and twists it, refines it, adds new dimensions to it. She's the evolved version, the next iteration, but she couldn't exist without the original. It's like learning a language. You start with the basics, the grammar, the vocabulary. Then you build on that foundation, learning more complex sentence structures, exploring nuances of meaning. Zagreus' story is the basic vocabulary of the Hades universe. Melinoë's story is the complex poetry that emerges from that vocabulary. And it's not just about understanding Melinoë's motivations. It's about understanding the world around her. The underworld, the gods, the very fabric of reality in the Hades universe. These are all shaped by the events of the first game. To truly appreciate the landscape of Hades 2, you need to know the history of that landscape, the battles fought, the alliances forged, the changes wrought by Zagreus' relentless quest. Consider the smaller details, the Easter eggs, the subtle references to the first game that are scattered throughout Hades 2. These aren't just throwbacks for long-time fans. They're threads that connect the two games, weaving them together into a richer, more cohesive narrative. They reward players who have invested in the first game with a deeper understanding of the world and its characters. But even if you haven't played the original Hades, don't worry. Hades 2 is designed to be accessible to new players. You can still enjoy the gameplay, the story, the characters, without knowing anything about Zagreus' journey. But you'll be missing out on a deeper layer of meaning, a richer understanding of the world and its history. Think of it like watching a sequel to a movie you haven't seen. You can still follow the plot, enjoy the action, appreciate the characters, but you'll be missing the context, the backstory, the emotional connections that make the sequel truly resonate. Hades 2 builds upon the foundations of the first game in subtle yet profound ways. The very mechanics of the game, the way you move, fight and interact with the world, are all informed by the design principles established in Hades. The responsive controls, the satisfying combat, the intricate level design. These are all hallmarks of Supergiant Games' signature style, a style that was honed and refined in the original Hades. And let's not forget the music. Darren Korb's iconic soundtrack is an integral part of the Hades experience. The music in Hades 2 builds upon the themes and motifs established in the first game, creating a sense of continuity and familiarity while also exploring new sonic landscapes. The familiar strains of the lyre, the driving rhythms of the percussion, the haunting melodies of the vocals. These all evoke the world of Hades, creating an emotional connection that transcends the visual and gameplay elements. Think about the characters you encounter in Hades 2. Many of them are familiar faces from the first game, but they've evolved, changed, grown. Their relationships with Zagreus have shaped them, and that history informs their interactions with Melinoë. Take Dusa, for example. Her unwavering loyalty, her quirky personality, her endearing clumsiness. These were all established in Hades. In Hades 2, she's still Dusa, but she's also more confident, more independent, more sure of herself. Her experiences with Zagreus have helped her to grow, and that growth is reflected in her interactions with Melinoë. Or consider Thanatos, his stoic demeanor, his quiet intensity, his surprising vulnerability. These were all explored in the first game. In Hades 2, he remains a powerful and enigmatic figure, but his relationship with Melinoë is different from his relationship with Zagreus. There's a sense of respect, perhaps even a hint of camaraderie, but also a distance, a sense of unspoken history. These are just two examples, but they illustrate the point that Hades 2 doesn't simply recycle characters from the first game. It builds upon them, deepens them, and explores new facets of their personalities. And it's not just about the returning characters. Hades 2 also introduces a host of new faces, each with their own unique personalities, motivations, and backstories. But even these new characters are informed by the world that was established in the first game. They inhabit the same underworld. They interact with the same gods. They are bound by the same cosmic laws. Their stories are interwoven with the stories of Zagreus and his companions, creating a rich and complex tapestry of interconnected narratives. So, as you venture into the depths of Hades 2, remember the journey that came before. Remember Zagreus' rebellion, his defiance, his unwavering determination to reach the surface. Remember the relationships he forged, the alliances he made, the changes he wrought in the underworld. Remember the themes of family, duty, rebellion, and self-discovery that resonated so strongly in the first game. These are the foundations upon which Hades 2 is built. They are the threads that connect the two games, weaving them together into a richer, more meaningful whole. Understanding Zagreus' story isn't just about appreciating the past, it's about understanding the present, and it's about appreciating the future. It's about seeing how the choices of one generation can shape the destiny of the next. It's about recognizing the enduring power of family, the importance of self-discovery, and the unwavering human spirit that drives us to overcome even the most daunting challenges. But this connection between the two games goes even deeper than shared characters and thematic echoes. What if the very nature of the curse Melinoë is fighting is directly tied to the unforeseen consequences of Zagreus' actions? What if his constant escapes, his repeated resurrections, inadvertently weaken the barriers between worlds, allowing the Titan Chronos to sense an opening? This changes everything, doesn't it? But